Well, hello, everybody. As you anticipate our forthcoming virtual town hall event, Justice for the Next Generation, I want to come on and welcome you onto our social media platform. I also wanted to show you what your support for our virtual and visual broadcast is doing. It is allowing us to bring you content just like the town hall that is forthcoming. We're actually here in Brunswick, Georgia, live on location in the old City Hall chambers. What an amazing venue for this very important conversation that is forthcoming. As you prepare and as we make final preparations, I want to ask you to help us share this event with your friends and family. Do it right now. If you're on Facebook, hit that like button, hit that share button. And if you're watching via YouTube Live, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube. Get ready, because this conversation is going to shake things up. Here in Brunswick, Georgia, live from the old City Hall, justice for the next generation will be served. A few weeks ago, our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts were teeming once again with the news of a story out of Brunswick, Georgia, involving the killing of another young black male in the name of the Stand Your Ground law. The video account of this slaying broke the word of Ahmaud Arbery's death to many of us, including myself, and it is still sending shockwaves around the world regarding America's harsh history of racial injustice. The original news narratives reported that Mr. Arbery was burglarizing and terrorizing a Satilla Shores neighborhood, which led to Gregory and Travis McMichael's decision to make a citizen's arrest. If you're watching this event today, it is safe to assume that you have learned that no citizens or criminal arrest would be made that day. Instead, due process would be foregone, and the father and son duo would commit a citizen's slaying in the name of the Georgia law. We're here live in Brunswick, Georgia, in the old City Hall on the exact 3-month anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery's lynching to discuss justice for the next generation.
Breaking news in the fatal shooting of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed black man who was out for a jog.
Tonight, the family of Dre'Shawn Reed wants justice for their son.
Louisville police shot and killed 26-year-old Breonna Taylor in her apartment during what her family calls a botched drug raid.
The outrage is now pouring into the streets.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
They are demanding justice this morning for 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery.
An injustice against one is an injustice against all. Today, I mourn the death of justice. Won't you mourn with me?
When the crime happened that day, they chose to believe the killers and didn't do any kind of thorough investigation.
I don't think I'll ever be in a mental state where I can actually watch the video. I mean, Ahmaud didn't deserve to go the way that he went.
My little brother became a statistic. He wasn't trying to be that. He's a statistic now.
It's absolutely wrong, you know, how he died. And, you know, he meant so much to me. Touched so many lives. You know, I run with Maud, you know. The world needs to know who he was. A man of respect, a man of principle.
Where is the justice?
Where is the peace?
We are here to find it.
We are here to speak truth to power and to use our voice to bring hope to the community and the next generation. Introducing Reverend Gregory B. Drumwright, one of America's most promising public theologians and social justice organizers of this new decade. He has been a dedicated pastor, instructor, and activist for social change for over 20 years. Join us as we search for truth, peace, and justice. For the next generation. This is Live at 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Old City Hall. And to kick off our discussion tonight, I have Mr. Marcus Arbery, Ahmaud's father. Welcome, sir. Welcome to our conversation for the next generation on justice. Can you start by telling us about your son?
I can just say he was a very good young man, good-hearted, giving, respectable, cared about people, and if you had a dollar you needed, he gave it to you. He just his heart was just bigger than life, you know, and it just tear me down so bad to see such a devastating video like that there, with these hateful people lynching my son like that. You know, it just really just done tore me down, and that's my child. And when I see them fly them gunshots in my child like that, it just put me in another state of mind. It just really make me want to hate. I'm being real with you because I'm only human.
Well, we're here to be real.
Telling you, I'm keeping it real with you. It really make me want to hate. But God working on me, trying to keep me from hating. Because believe me, I can hate bad as they can. But I'm just trying to hold it together, and I thank God because that when they done our child like that, they just put too much on me and his mama. You know, that's just really rough. And you know, and don't have too much word for nothing like that there, because that was uncalled for. You don't do an animal like that. You know, these people monsters. You know what I'm saying? They terrible. And they ain't got no business walking no street, never. When you hate people that bad like that, and you do them like that, you don't never need to be out here walking free.
You know, to the point that you just made, it's been 3 months today, and those arrests actually just happened within the last week and a half.
Yes.
So having your son's killers walking the streets for more than 2.5 months without any call for their arrest from within the local justice system, what has the last 2.5 months been like for you and the family?
Awful. It was very bad, awful. I just thank God that I ain't never ran across these people. I'm thanking God for that. Because I know I'd have went off, I'd have dealt with them. I'm being real with you. I'm just thanking God, God's good. He kept me away from those people, because I ain't scared of them. You know what I'm saying? You deal with my son that, I'm not scared of you.
Wow.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Believe me, I can get busy. Well, I'm just thanking God I just didn't run across these hateful people like that, because I dealt with that kind of stuff all my life. You know what I'm saying? But I just didn't really know racism was that deep. That deep to still, that low to go bother my kid like that.
So you believe that race was at play?
Oh, definitely. The video tell it all. You had white people go and look at that house, they ain't touched them. Now one little black young man go in there and you go racial profile him and take his life. It don't take a rocket scientist to see that race played a great part in that.
Do you have any reason to believe that Ahmaud was there to take anything, to steal anything?
No. He wasn't raised on that level. He wasn't raised on that level. He just was a young man, loved to run. He just run all through all the neighborhood, and everybody knows that. So he don't have no record of doing that.
So it took so long for us and many of our viewers to learn about this. It happened February 23rd. This is still coming to light of public attention here 3 months later on May 23rd. Can you tell us why it took so long? What happened? How did this actually come into the national attention of people everywhere?
I give all glory to all the people in my family that pushed it hard. We just didn't never give up because we already know what time it was. We know they were trying to brush it on the road because this was another black kid, like a life don't matter. And our people, and my brothers and sisters, and my sister-in-law, we wasn't going for it. So we just kept on fighting because we a fighting family. I'm telling you, we don't lay down on stuff, special stuff like this here. We never lay down. One thing about my family, you're going to have to lay us down, because we ain't laying down.
I noticed a few minutes ago when the intro was running that you turned away from the intro when it showed the actual video of what happened. I can't help but realize and recognize Ahmaud for being a fighter.
Yes, he was a fighter.
He really went down fighting.
Fight for his life. Because that's how he was raised. He was a homo kid, but I raised him up that, hey, if somebody hit you, you got right to hit them back. Because that's how I've been on my life, my whole family been on that. We just, with the Kappa family, we just believe in, you trying to hurt us, we going no mean with you. That's how we were raised. So that's the thing we know. And I raised my son to be like that. I said, somebody hit you, you got right to hit them. But don't bother people with nothing. And my children didn't bother people with nothing. So, hey.
So, Mr. Arbery, are you pleased with how the news media is reporting on your son's case?
Yes, I'm just so proud that they just putting, I don't like the negative stuff, but because they're trying to size him like he the victim, and he was not like that. You know, that's the only thing about, but it really don't bother me because it don't justify what them Michael people done. It don't justify what they done.
What is it that you don't like?
What I don't like is they trying to make him like he was wrong, and which he wasn't. Only thing was wrong with him just was his skin color. He just was a young black man, and that played a part in his death. Yep.
You know, when I watched the videos that seemingly just keep coming, I still cannot find a reason why he has to be depicted like a common criminal. Many of the things that he did, so many people, youth, black and white, are guilty of doing in their teenage years. And so it's been said many times before now, but even if Ahmaud was burglarizing an unfinished house under construction, should that have resulted in him being gunned down in the street?
Definitely not. Definitely not. One thing about it, you should have put the law on. If you're doing anything wrong, don't try to take the law in your own hand because you're racist and trying to find a way to kill a black man. I don't justify that.
Well, we're here to uplift Ahmaud's legacy on the town hall. So could you share any final words about your son? Could you let us know something about Ahmaud that perhaps we don't already know?
I know one thing, he always would call you. He did that to me every day. Called me and tell me how much he loved me. When I was way down in Perry, Florida, working, because I drive a truck for Thompson Dust, he called me every day and tell me how much he loved me. I love your partner. And he said, I'll talk with you later. You know, them the things I'm going to miss of him. And these monsters robbed my kid of his life. Now I can't even hear from him no more. No, all I got is memories of him and stuff like that then. And it still seems like a dream to me. It don't even seem real. When I got to face out reality, it is real. They really killed my kid. They really killed him. And I'm struggling with that every day of my life. And I got my own personal relationship with God, and I mourn my son's death with God. I sit back in my own room and I just moan, and I ask God to keep giving me the strength to carry on every day.
Well, I have had a chance to spend some time with you this week, and let me let everybody out there watching, this is a very strong man of faith. I am proud of your strength. None of us, except those who have lost their children to situations like this, could even imagine what it's like to have to depend on God for that kind of strength. I heard you say that you were fighting some bitter feelings if you had ran across them. I want you to know that I'm glad that in all God's keeping, you were kept.
Yes.
And I want you to know on the behalf of our organization and everybody that's watching that cares about justice, we're going to stand with you and your family until justice is served. Thank you so much for joining us on the town hall.
Thank you.
Stay right there, because there's more to come. We want to uplift the memory of Breonna Taylor. Breonna was a 26-year-old emergency room technician who dreamed of pursuing a nursing career. She was a woman who had a mindset to succeed in this world. Unfortunately, Breonna's dreams were cut short on the night of March 26, when she and her boyfriend were abruptly awoken to a forced entry in their home, a drug raid that resulted in her being shot 8 times by the police. Today we pause to celebrate her life while we sit with her legacy. Can I get help? Welcome back to the Town Hall on Justice for the Next Generation. And on set, we're continuing this conversation with 2 very important people to Ahmaud's life. I have his football coach, Mr. Jason Vaughn, and his best friend, Mr. Akeem Baker. Welcome to our town hall tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so glad that you all could make it. And we're here to uplift Ahmaud's legacy. And it's being talked about on all sides. As his father and I just finished discussing, there are new videos that are surfacing. It seems like they're just being fed to the media repeatedly at this point to, if you would, depict Ahmaud as a common criminal. You being a coach and you being a close friend, can you all tell us about who you all knew Ahmaud to be?
So Ahmaud to me was a very special person. Ahmaud had a bright smile that can light up a room. He can feel people's temperament, and he always tried to make people smile, and he lent his smile to others. One thing he used to like to do, I talk to people a lot about, he used to like to mimic and mock his teachers all the time. So if I was having like a rough day or looking a little too serious, Ahmaud would lighten the mood, and he'll come at me and he'll stand beside me and he'll be like, all right, I'm Coach Vaughn today. Y'all go ahead, move along, go to class, just imitating me, just trying to get me to smile, because he could recognize I had a bad day. He was just a very special person to me. I love all my players, and he was a player that I greatly love and I greatly respect. A strong leader on the field. The guys listened to him, and he would lead them to the right direction.
Akeem, you were his close friend, and even 3 months later, this is very difficult for you. Not to your discredit, but I just want to share with everybody that you weren't even certain if you would come here today because of how difficult it is to talk about what happened to your friend. Can you tell us what you hold so close to you regarding your friend's legacy and your memory of him?
Ahmaud was just, he was a man of principles. One thing I hold close to me is loyalty. Ahmaud's loyalty was unmatched, and he prided himself in just being loyal to his friends and family. He never wanted to bring dishonor to anybody that had ties with him. So that's one thing that I hold dear to me, and I just want to honor that for him in terms of his legacy and, you know, just having his name live on forever.
So it must be difficult to see how some of the narratives that have come out about him are playing in the media. How are you dealing with that? How are you and his friends handling that?
I mean, I ignore it. I've mastered the art of ignoring things. Good
for you.
Especially things that are irrelevant, things that are detrimental to Ahmaud's character, things that have no, you know, they have no significance. So I mastered the art of filtering things out, just ignoring, you know, negative things, negative images that they try to place on Ahmaud and just black men in general, in terms of the news and the media and whatnot. So that's kind of how I just handle that situation.
And it almost makes you question the police even further. I mean, they're releasing these tapes about Ahmaud from years ago. I mean, what is the purpose of that? Why are you trying to vilify the victim? If you're a police officer, you're an advocate for victims, why are you trying to vilify this man? So it presents a lot more questions than answers. I mean, it's interesting they want to release all those other tapes, but they don't want to release the body cam on the day that mattered, 2/23/2020. So this distrust that our community now has from our policing force, finding out all these things, as they continue to antagonize this situation, it makes our community think, why villainize the name of this great young man that I knew and that the community knew?
And I'm assuming that's why you all have coalesced and stayed very in close quarters with each other to figure out a mechanism, I Run for Maud, to uplift his legacy. And really, we're just in the very beginning stages of seeking justice for him. Where did that idea, I Run for Maud, where did it stem from?
I Run with Maud. The genesis came from Coach Vaughn.
Oh, wow.
So our newspaper, our local paper, printed a very biased story about Maud, and it just didn't make sense. They then did another story a month later that highlighted what the accused murderer said. He was the only witness that we could hear from in the police report, and none of that story matched up. So I reached out to my brother that's a lawyer, and I said, hey, just read this, because I'm his coach, I love him. I said, just read this with unbiased eyes and tell me what you think. My brother quickly read through it, and he called me back within 2 minutes. He said, this is wrong. They're using police language in this account that they're taking from the victim, and they're almost setting it up as self-defense. And I said to my brother, I said, well, if I don't know this, and you know I'm educated, I got degrees, I know our community don't know. And my brother said, hey, let's jump on a Facebook Live and let's explain this to our community. So we got on the Facebook Live, and my role, like always, is just to talk about my guy, Maud. I love him. So I gave my story about the last time I seen Maud. And so the last time I seen Maud was, he was doing what he loved. He was jogging the neighborhood. And he was actually in my neighborhood. I'm 4 or 5 miles away from Maud. So I live close to him. So he was jogging my neighborhood, and I seen him. I was like, oh man, that's Maud. You know, I'm gonna give him a hard time, you know, being his football coach and everything else. And so I went into a full sprint, but I'm a big guy. You know, I played O-line. I went into a full sprint. And as I seen Maud get around the corner, I seen that Maud jog was faster than my sprint. And I knew I wouldn't catch up with him. And so but because I started sprinting, I got tired. And I got out of my routine and I started to walk. And you know, I seen Maud jog off. And I was telling my brother that I want us to run this marathon with Maud's strength. Not my strength, because I got too tired. But Maud would never get tired. So it's not me running, I run with Maud.
You used to make him run, and now you're doing all the running.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you shared that story. How long ago was that Facebook post? That first
the live?
Yeah, the live would have been somewhere towards the end of March.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you all were sitting with what they were saying happened for the better part of a month.
Yeah.
Where were you when you found out about your friend's death, and what was your initial reaction?
I was in New York, in Queens. I was in the bed, in my phone, getting ready to, call it a night. But I received a text from his sister around 11 o'clock. King, we lost Quez today. I was just, what do you mean we lost Quez? Like, well, what are you talking about? And that's when she told me he was, involved in a burglary, and he got into it with the homeowner, and he lost his life. I stayed up for hours that night, just crying in the bathroom. I called and told some of my other close friends that Ahmaud was close with what happened, and I was distraught. I was hurt, heartbroken, and just confused. A lot of confusion. So,
do either of you get any comfort from the outpouring of support from all over the world? I know it doesn't bring Ahmaud back, but how has the world's reaction to this case affected you?
It's amazing, the support that Ahmaud and his family and friends have been receiving. The support is worldwide. Ahmaud, his name is global now and on the minds of everyone. So I just know I'm happy because I know he's grinning and smiling, looking down, because he always spoke about being big one day, not knowing how, but he just said, Keem, I'm gonna be big one day. Like, we both gonna be at the top. Like, he would say that a lot. So, it's just, he spoke that into existence. It's I don't know, maybe he prophesized it. So.
Yeah, and it just makes, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm his coach. I love him. Mm-hmm. And when I first heard the news, I was just broken up by it. I was at home, and I told my wife, I said, this doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like mine, because I knew him from running the community. I said, this doesn't sound like mine. Me being a big guy, the first emotion was anger, like, who took my guy away from me? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So just to be realistic, it was anger at first, like, that's not him. It doesn't sound like him. And to just hit on your second question, that support that comes from the community, that support that comes from the I Run With Maud team, it's what we need. Many nights, you know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man, I can't sleep many nights. I can't. I did not sleep May the 5th. I didn't sleep. Didn't sleep May the 5th. Didn't sleep. That was the worst, most horrific thing I've ever seen in my life. I did not sleep. I did not sleep. And I just told the story. I just walked my living room all night, and I got a Nest little, temperature machine, and I walked past and I said, okay, it's 12 o'clock, I'm gonna go to sleep at 12:30. Just kept walking. All right, 1 o'clock, I'm gonna go to sleep at 1:30. 1:30 hit. 2 o'clock hit. 2:30 hit. 3 o'clock hit. 3:30 hit. And I could not go to sleep. I called my mom 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm a grown man calling my mom, and just bawling, crying, just trying to hold it together. My wife wakes up at 7 and asks me if I was asleep. I said, I can't close my eyes. I can't close my eyes.
What was the significance of May the 5th, just for anyone who's watching that may not know?
That's the day that the tape was released, showing exactly what they did to Ahmaud. That was the day. That was the day it came out. That was the day it was released.
Did you all stumble across it, or how did you first?
I kind of woke up. Somebody told me there was a video out of what had happened. They sent me the link. I watched the video. I just started breaking down, crying. It was traumatizing. I was just sick to my stomach. It was disgusting. I called my mom. I told my mom, Ahmaud wasn't doing anything wrong. And he was just it was like open season on his life.
Yeah.
He was literally being hunted down like game.
In broad daylight.
In broad daylight, for no reason at all, other than the color of his skin. It's bad, man. It's terrible. America, the day that video was released, America took a few steps back. That was like from the 1920s, Mississippi burning type thing. It was it was bad.
And it came out in the most disrespectful way.
Tell
The
us.
father wasn't contacted. The mother wasn't contacted. None of the attorneys were contacted. They literally released that tape without contacting anybody in the family, without even warning the family. And so we had to jump into irunwithmaud mode, and we had to start contacting the family members like, look, there's a tape out there, do not look at it. And we started hitting the lawyers up like, look, they released this tape, and it was just a scramble to protect the family, because we definitely didn't want the family to see the tape. But that shows how much they didn't value his life. How you release a tape before showing the father, before talking to the father, before talking to the mother? How do you do that?
And why now? That's what a lot of people are asking. If this happened February 23rd, why May 5th? If this, and I was talking to the property owner where the incident happened. His driveway is where it happened. He said that he knew a minute after Ahmaud was killed that there was a video of the incident. He told us that. A minute later, he said, and the reason how I knew is because I witnessed the law enforcement on the scene referencing this video.
It's just bad news, like bad handling of evidence.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to speak to that.
Well, you're kind of being kind, saying it's just bad. For those of you all who are watching, like I got chills over my body. There's a huge sense of emotion in this room. It's anger right now in this room. I'm sorry if I upset you in sharing that information, but it upset me, and it's upsetting so many of us. Coach, how you feeling?
Ahmaud's life mattered. It mattered. He was absolutely beautiful, absolutely wonderful. Perfect? No, nobody's perfect. I'm a grown man, I make mistakes.
That's right.
But his life mattered. It absolutely mattered. It mattered to his mother, his father, his sister, his brother, his best friend, his extended family, to our community. To me as a coach, he had a place in my heart like all my players. His life mattered. How could authorities look at that tape and allow the man to leave? Is beyond belief. It's beyond belief. And so that's why I run with Maud. That's why we pushing this. We got to find out how to create real change in our community so this does not happen. I don't understand how you look at that tape and you go home and you feel whole, knowing that these men are not in handcuffs and in jail. I don't care about their previous position or title. How could you go home after looking at that tape and just continue to live your life? That's not the authorities, protecting our community.
That's right. You grew up in this community with Ahmaud.
Correct.
Did you? So you lived through travonmartin, and you lived through the news of Michael Brown and Sandra Bland. Living in Brunswick, I know where I'm from, Burlington, North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina. I've sat with the mayor, I've sat with the police chief in Greensboro, I've sat with hundreds, if not thousands, of community citizens through all of those incidents where we were asking ourselves, could that ever happen here. Did you ever think that this would happen in Brunswick, Georgia?
Not at all. Not at all. I never thought in a million years an act of pure evil, something so heinous could happen in my hometown. Ahmaud and I, we discussed like race relations and stuff. We spoke about racism together.
You did?
Yeah. So we understood it wasn't all love here.
Okay.
There were places where we just were not, welcome with open arms, but we didn't go about living our life in fear in our hometown. That's, so never would have thought.
Coach, from an adult perspective, again, adults have processed what has been happening to black youths all over this country. Did you ever think it could happen so close to you?
Oh man, as an adult, as a grown man, and I have a daughter. You think about when your kids physically leave out the house, and you think about all the trappings out there and all the things you have to worry about. But when you're a person of color, there's an added worry that other people don't have to worry about, and that's sad. My daughter will be going off to college soon. I won't be Coach Vaughn. I won't be this big guy right next to her. Parents should never have to fear the people who are meant to protect our kids.
I hear you loud and clear. We were there today with Coach Vaughn and Akeem and Ahmaud's family, friends, and community for another I Run with Maud event. Before we wrap this segment, I do want to uplift you all's efforts. It is absolutely beautiful how you all have worked hard with your social capital. Akeem, you coming back to Brunswick to lend your voice and to share your relationship. Coach, you and those that surround you. I've met other coaches. I've even met teachers of Ahmaud, how you all are coalescing. Can you tell us what's next for I Run with Maud, where you all see that going and how we and everyone out there all over the world can support it?
All right, so with I Run with Maud, the organization consists of me, King, Maud's other best friend, Demetrius Frazier, who couldn't be here today, my brother, who's a pastor in Little Rock, Arkansas, but he is barred as a lawyer, and Josiah Watson, another cousin of mine. And so we meet and we come up with very real action steps to take. Early on, we had to Tell the Truth Tuesday, and we would literally call the DA office until they could get no more phone calls. We filled up their voicemail, and you're not dealing with another case. You're not talking to another person, but you're going to talk to someone from I Run with Maud, and we're going to be right there with you. And so we literally hit them with emails and everything else. And so that worked for us. It really put the pressure on Barnhill to where he kind of, he honored the mother, Miss Wanda's wishes and kind of let it go. And we were doing the same thing with Durden. So on Sunday nights at 6 p.m., we talk to our I Run with Maud community. We have 80,000 people on our Facebook.
Wow.
And so, the love we get from that page, I Run with Maud community, oh man, it feels great. Like we get to see pictures of people supporting Maud, and I love sharing that with his family. I love sharing that with Ms. Wanda, just making her smile. Yeah. So that kind of fuels me and keep me going. So Sunday night at 6, we give our steps to continue running. King came up with that thing.
Steps to keep running.
Steps to keep running. Wow. So we'll give our steps out on Sunday, and then each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have a different action that we just ask people to take each day. So, and this week we partner with the Blue Institute here in Georgia, and they're going to talk about being more involved politically. And so they'll be doing that Wednesday night. And so we're going to partner with them and make sure that people know just being more politically involved, because there's policies we got to change.
Okay, so I thought I was going to let you go, but You said something. You said a buzzword. You said that this is become a political matter. Akeem, there are so many young black men your age, and even my age, Coach Vaughn's age, that are fed up with politics. They're fed up with policy making. They're fed up with even marching and demonstrating, which is actually why we're doing this town hall event, Justice for the Next Generation. However, we are marching. We marched today. We're going to continue to demonstrate. We're going to continue to lift our voices, because what I heard you say, Akeem, and you, Coach, is that there's some purpose that's churning out of this. I mean, did you ever think you would be back here this summer for this?
Yeah, not under these circumstances.
Mm-hmm. So, what do we say to the brothers that are saying we just want to arm ourselves and take matters into our own hands if this comes back around?
I mean, arm yourself, you know. I don't disagree with that. Voting is a necessity. It creates change. The power of change resides in the youth, I think. So I feel like the youth are very critical in pushing things forward, policies and, you know, what have you. So I think it's very critical, you know, to protecting yourself is essential, you know, so I don't.
Got you.
Yes, sir.
Coach, were the right laws and the right policies in place to prevent this from happening to Ahmaud?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. There is a law that's on the book, and I'm not sure if those, I love what another preacher called them, unindicted felons. I'm not sure if that's the card they're going to play, but this whole citizen arrest thing, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. That law should never be on the books. And this was absolutely not a citizen arrest by the definition or letter of the law at all. But in looking at that law, it should not exist. At no point should a civilian, you know, with no prior training have, you know, the right to literally chase down someone who you think committed a crime. I mean, you're arming dangerous people.
Of course.
And they're being protected by the law. I mean, and just to piggyback off what Keem said about people arming themselves, you know, there's a lot of anger out there. You know, nobody's going to be more angry than the family. The father, the mother, the brother, the sister. There's a lot of anger out there. And I understand that. There's a lot of anger out there. You know, like I said, I'm a big guy. I feel like, you know, I'm a big protector. There's a lot of anger out there. You know, so if you want for your personal protection, but if you want to change what happened and what's going on in this country, it's time to just get involved. And if I can just talk to college students, they are the ones that led the civil rights movement. There is no civil rights movement without A&T, the brothers that sat at the counter. Those college students changed Earth.
Well, you are talking to college students, so I want you to look into that camera. Let me first say Aggie Pride. I know that you are a proud HBCU educated man, Akeem. So, you
Morehouse
know,
College.
Morehouse.
Class of 2016.
Congratulations, brother. And
Fort Valley State University.
Fort Valley State. Wow, HBCU pride happening right here. Coach, can you conclude that statement, because you are talking to them, so I want you to address them. And Akeem, could you give us a final statement about what you hope your peer group would do?
All right.
Yes, right there.
Okay, all right. I'm a coach. I'm not used to cameras and everything, but
Which camera?
if I can just say, you know, if I can really speak to you and say something, here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say. Please get active. Please get involved. You have the opportunity to change Earth. College students changed Earth in the 60s. They worked so hard and and they created so much change. That change even left America. It went to South Africa. It went to China. You have the ability to change Earth. Never feel powerless. Use what you have for good. You have the ability, like my mom says, to change the life of yourself, for yourself, your kids, and your parents, and to make this world better. Please use your platform. Use social media. Please use your platform. Go to these rallies. Go to these demonstrations. Let them know. Let them know that we no longer want to be victims when we can be victorious.
That's right.
We have the power to move mountains through change. Your vote matters. Do not let anybody tell you that it otherwise. Stay educated, stay involved in your community, vote with local elections and to create, create change and whatnot. So continue to stay involved and just know that you matter, your vote matters. Thank you.
Thank you both for joining us. Thank you for sacrificing so much of your time. I really am grateful for I Run With Maud, and we're going to be checking on your Facebook to stay abreast to that policy advocacy work that you're doing, and to stay abreast to the events that's happening here in Brunswick. I heard you say earlier this week that there was millions of people running around the globe.
The statistics.
Yeah, when we first did for Maud's birthday, when we first did that first run for his birthday, 119,000 people around Earth ran. Wow. Around Earth. And so they sent us the statistical data. Russia, China, India. It lit up the whole continent of Africa, South America. People around Earth participated in that run. I Run With Maud has been hashtag between Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram 800 million times.
Whoa.
We got that data on May the 8th. 800 million times around Earth.
And so that has actually far exceeded itself since May the 8th. We're on May the 23rd. Yeah. Well, that says a lot about God's blessings being on you and upon you for lifting up and keeping the legacy rich for Mr. Arbery. Thank you all for doing what you're doing, watching us today, and agreeing with us to continue to keep Ahmaud Arbery's name in the forefront until justice has been served. Don't go anywhere. There is so much more to this conversation, justice for the next generation, and we'll be joined very soon by Ahmaud's mother. Stay tuned. Hear from City Hall, Old City Hall in Brunswick, Georgia. Justice for the next generation. The conversation continues. We pause to uplift the memory of Tyreek Hudson. Tyreek was a man full of faith and promise. After graduating from North Carolina A&T in 2 years, he immediately began his career with Northrop Grumman, an aerospace defense company. Within just 1 year, Tyreek was already on his second promotion with that company. While Hudson was well ahead of his peers, his life came to an early end. On April 15th, Tyreek was shot and killed in the stairwell of his apartment complex by his neighbor. Today, we pause to celebrate his life and remember his legacy.
This town hall is being brought to you today by the Citadel Church and Campus Ministries, situated in Greensboro, North Carolina. The Citadel is known for its energetic worship, dedicated community work, and other fine programs and events, just like the one you are witnessing today. Join Pastor Drumwright online each and every week for Word on Wednesday at 7 p.m. and worship on Sundays at 3 p.m., both live on his YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe at Greg Drumwright. And thank you for watching.
We are now joined on set by various community leaders from within Brunswick, Georgia. Please help me welcome Dr. Felicia Harris. Dr. Harris is a devoted community activist and volunteer. She co-founded SWAP, Sisters with a Purpose, a community ministry which services the physical and spiritual needs of young ladies. She is also the co-founder of the Water Organization, a community organization serving the youth of Brunswick, Georgia. She is a certified evangelist and biblical instructor, and she has her doctorate in divinity and is a licensed biblical counselor. Dr. Felicia Harris, a commissioner. We are also joined by Pastor Drew Thompson. Pastor Thompson is the leader of Union City Church here in Brunswick. He has lived in the community for the past 20 years and has a deep love for Brunswick. He is married to Mandy and has twin girls, Ava and Eva. We are also joined on set by Bishop Vincent T. Williams. Bishop Williams is a commissioner here in the city of Brunswick. He has a theology degree, and he serves as one of the leading public officials as the North Ward City Commissioner since 2014. He is also a congregational leader and a business entrepreneur. Thank you all for being with us here on this town hall talk. I've been here in Brunswick for a few days, and I actually pulled up in the midst of a forum, a speak out, a call and demand for justice from the faith leaders here. It's very interesting that I have all pastors here as well as public servants. I am so proud to have met you, and I'm grateful to learn of your work. So I first came up hearing you speak out, Pastor Drew, about what's happening, followed by a poignant, prolific, and prophetic voice. So I just want you all to bring those who are not from Brunswick and have not received the news about your work and your advocacy around Mr. Arbery's case. Tell us what's happening here in Brunswick.
You want me to start? I'll start. There's a lot that's really happening behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get to see every day. There is a cry, the cry is there for justice. I don't think that anyone wants anything more than that justice be done, and so I think that people are working real hard. I think that, we've got things going in the right direction. Things are going in the direction that I believe that justice will prevail. So even though there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of separation in some arenas, but then there again, we're at the point where we can pull this together and make Brunswick and the Golden Isles what it really is. A few people don't make who we are. I've got, even throughout my life living here, there are a lot of my friends who are Caucasian, who are Indian, who are bilingual, biracial, you name it. So that's the diversity and the culture that we have here, and that's what I enjoy about living right here in Brunswick and the Golden Isles. So,
Dr. Harris, you have been a strong voice around this case. Can you tell the people why it is you sit so close with what happened to Ahmaud?
First of all, because I'm a human being, and any person that has a human nature would have or should have a heart of compassion, a heart of passion, a heart of not just sympathy but also empathy, to have lost a child, a person, a human being in such a manner. I'm a mother. I'm a community activist. I'm a lover of people. I'm a lover of the city of Brunswick, of the county of Glenn, and to know that something of this magnitude could take place and a place that I have such a special place in my heart for. It does something to anybody that has a heart. And it took me back to when I was a kid and looking at Dorothy on the movie, and when she was talking to the Tin Man, and he was looking for a heart. And any person that has a heart, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your status in life is, I don't care what your ethnicity is. If you have a heart, that's what got it for me, to just have a heart, period, and to have a heart and a spirit for right.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Pastor Drew.
Yes, sir.
I can't help but notice that you're a brother from another mother.
Did you notice that?
I can't help but notice it, bro. So I pulled up here, and we didn't know that our very first few moments on the ground here would be to crash a press conference coming from the faith community here. And it was your voice that was on the microphone when I walked up. And I was happy and glad to see that a member from the white community, as well as other faith leaders from the white community, was standing with Ahmaud's community. I have to ask you though, have you received any pushback for taking this position?
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm a pastor of a church that's focused on racial reconciliation, so I got a big family that loves me, and we're fine. But a lot of things are shut down. When things start up again, we'll see what happens. So far, I've just been overwhelmed by support. Been very proud of particularly our black faith leaders who have really stepped up and led the way, and then allowed us a place at the table as well. So far, it's been fantastic. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Wonderful. Dr. Harris, you lead a lot of younger people in your church, and through your work, Sisters with a Purpose, you have a heart for young people. And this conversation is about justice for them.
Yes.
Can you tell us what that looks like from your lens?
Well, from my lens, and that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to be here. I wanted to listen primarily at the hearts of the young men, because I firmly believe that once the young men understand their power, once they understand who they really are and have an opportunity to identify themselves, then they'll be more prone to take their rightful positions. And so I have a lot of teenagers, football players, athletes. I'm an athlete in my church. And so to listen at them and to want to know, to also have that question myself, what does justice look like for them? And so to have justice for them colored, you'll have me go a whole nother direction. But to have the event, the horrific event, to happen the way it happened to a human being. I'm African American. I can't be anything but that. When I wake up every morning, that's who I see. And I have nephews. I have the young men that's in my church, and to have them to have a coloring of what justice really should be and what it should really look like for them, and it should not look like a specific color. It should look like the rainbow that God created.
Yeah.
That's what justice should look like. He created the rainbow as a representation of justice.
Well, you all have been living here for a long time. Some of you all were raised here. Is Brunswick, Georgia, a racist place? Does Brunswick have a race problem?
That's a trick question in a way, but I would say that every town has some level of racism.
Even in 2020.
Even in 2020.
Yeah.
And racism doesn't just work one way. That's what we have to understand. Racism can work both ways. You know, so we have to understand racism is not just black and white. It could be white Latino, it could be black Latino, it could be black Mexican, you know, whatever the
black on black.
Black on black. It's still we still have to understand that at the end of the day, that all of us are God's children. All of us, I don't care what your gender is, I don't care what your family, where you come from, if I cut you, you're gonna bleed red.
So if the McMichaels were a black father and son, and Arbery was a white male, Commissioner Williams, would you be calling for justice?
Yes, I would have to, because, you know, justice is not colored. It should be for every individual, for every person. And if it's not right for me to do it, it's not right for you to do it. One thing that I tell people all the time, I said, one thing I know about God, he never changes his mind about sin. If it's wrong today, it's wrong tomorrow. If it's right today, it'll still be right tomorrow in his eyesight.
So what would you tell the constituents here in Brunswick, whether they be in your district or outside of your district, what would you say to them who are saying that you all are only calling for justice and doing this work and lifting your voice because Arbery was black and you're black?
I would say that they really don't know me that well.
They really don't, because anybody, well, most of the people that know me know that it doesn't matter to me across the board. I want to be fair with everybody. I want to do what's right. My grandfather taught me. He said, "Son, as long as you do what's right," he said like this. He said, "A lie get there a lot quicker than the truth will, but the truth will eventually get there." So if we do what's right, it'll be all right.
And really and truthfully, to be honest, I've not had a lot of people, well, I've not had people not here. Now, I've gotten emails and I've gotten hate emails from other places, but it's not been from here. It's not been from home. Wow. And everyone that I've gotten emails from home has been calling for the same thing all of us are calling for. We've crossed boundaries, and people are calling for justice. Now, you may have a few that may feel that the way they feel, and you can't stop people from feeling the way they feel. I'm not going to try that. That's not my mission. But my mission is to speak out for justice, regardless of if it was reversed or not reversed. My aim is justice. And my aim is equitability. It doesn't matter who it is. Equitability should have no boundaries. It should be for everybody. Even though we live in reality. We live in America. And America is still America. And we're still working with the challenges that we as a people have in America. And so we will continue to speak out. We would continue to cry out for the injustices that we see. We should, as human beings, we should cry out for injustices. So there should be no limit to it. But I'll continue to be a voice. I'll continue to speak for whoever it is. I don't care what their ethnicity is. I don't care where they come from. I don't care if they're off of Sea Island or if they're out of McIntyre Court. I'm still going to cry the same cry for each and every person, male or female. And that's what we're called to do. We should not stop or accept any less, because we're called to higher.
So, Pastor Drew.
Yes, sir.
There are so many I'm a pastor as well, as you know. For those who are watching, I'm a pastor as well. So I know that there are so many of my white counterparts who believe in justice, but won't call for it, using their platforms as people of influence. I found that there are white pastors who pastor multiracial churches, but on matters like the Ahmaud Arbery case and others like it, they're very quiet, or they just call for love and call for peace. I've seen some of your work from a distance. Why are you going a step further? And I know you don't speak for white pastors everywhere. Let me say that. I don't speak for black pastors everywhere, neither do we. But why are you using your white voice to speak out against what happened to Ahmaud Arbery?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think for a long time, I just didn't. I didn't use whatever influence God gave me. And the reason why was because I was afraid. I was afraid to say the wrong thing. I was afraid to offend people who disagreed with me. And mostly I was afraid because I felt like as a pastor, I had this specific zone to be in, which was the faith zone, right? I'm supposed to teach the Bible. I'm supposed to preach the gospel. I'm supposed to help people get connected with Jesus Christ. Okay, fair enough. The problem is, this is the gospel. This is the gospel.
Yes.
Right? And so when the same God who calls us to lay our lives down at the foot of the cross is the God who commands us to do justice, who commands us to cry out for justice. You cannot preach the gospel without getting into the mess of life. And yes, I'm scared every time I open my mouth in public. Of course I'm scared being up here because there are people watching that I don't know and people can take my words out of context. Okay, you know what? So be it. Because when you are, as a white pastor, when you are silent, that silence is deafening. It speaks volumes to the people of color in our community who are in the middle of this. And you just can't do it. You got to get out there and you just got to get over yourself and start standing with people and following the lead of people who are showing you what to do.
Wow. Okay, so you're preaching up here.
Sorry about that. I'm back up.
That's what you call us. That's what we do. That's what we do.
I want everybody to hold back there. Amen. I so appreciate you saying that because a lot of people don't know about the intersectionality between justice and Jesus.
Yes, that's right.
They think that Jesus was just a healer of diseases, not a voice for the voiceless. And what you have just pointed those who are skeptics of ministries such as mine, who consider it not only their duty but a part of their calling to stand in the public square and posit peace and protest. Can you all as pastors say, have you experienced that fear as well? I mean, you all are elected officials. Have you experienced the fear that Pastor Drew was experiencing?
It's kind of a double-edged sword because as a pastor, you feel that push that you know you need to be there, you know you need to stand, but then as an elected official, you're saying, oh my God, and at the same time, but you can't have that fear. You can't let fear overtake you. I believe that, we have to stand for what we believe. We got to stand for justice. We got to stand for what's right. And it makes no difference where it is, who it is. If it's right, we need to stand. That's just the bottom line. So, and that's my philosophy. That's why I am, and that's the approach that we're even taking in the city commission. On our city commission, there's 3 African Americans, two a white male and a white female. But watch this. We all agree, that justice has to be done in this situation.
Yes.
We cannot stand for anything less. We cannot ask for anything less. All that we're asking for is justice be done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for welcoming us into the city of Brunswick. You all, it is beautiful here. And we have just heard from some of the most powerful and poignant voices around the Ahmaud Arbery case. And I just want to let you all know that these are some fearless leaders that we have partnered with to bring justice in this case. Please stay tuned for more on this call for justice for the next generation as we continue this conversation. Don't go anywhere. We're about to hear from Mr. Ahmaud's mother. Tonight we lift up the memory of Sharice Francis. To her family, Sharice was both a happy and caring woman who aspired to become a physical therapist. Sharice struggled with her mental health and had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. While having a mental episode, officers were called to her family home to help, not knowing that she would be suffocated under the weight of 4 officers piled on top of her. Her death was ruled a homicide, yet no one was charged in the murder of Mrs. Francis. Today we pause to celebrate the life and legacy of Sharice. We lift up the memory of Sean Bell. On the night of Sean Bell's bachelor party and the day before his wedding, he and 2 of his close friends were shot a total of 50 times by New York undercover police officers. While 2 friends were wounded, Bell did not survive his injuries. The officers in the case were acquitted of all charges. However, they and their commanding officers were either fired or forced to resign on March 24, 2012. Today we pause to celebrate the life and remember the legacy of Sean Bell while we continue to call for justice in his case and others. Welcome back to this town hall talk, Justice for the Next Generation, coming to you live from the old City Hall here in Brunswick, Georgia. We are so privileged to be joined by Miss Wanda Cooper Jones, the mother of Ahmaud Arbery. Miss Cooper Jones, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and I had a awesome introduction to you earlier today at the demonstration.
Yes.
You've been very busy in these streets, as young folks would say.
Yeah.
What's keeping you going?
It's just that I know that I must continue to push. I can't stop. Now it's not the time to stop. So I guess my drive is knowingly that I can't afford to stop right now.
I was on social media last night and I watched a video from the Pace Sisters who sang a song to you on Mother's Day. Tributes to your son's honor, and people, actors, entertainers, politicians of the likes have all been pouring in to you. Has this given you any strength?
It has. Just knowing that we're not standing alone. We have major support. It's very encouraging, and also it does give us strength.
You know, I'm going to admit something to you. We as a production crew did not even realize that today was the 3-month anniversary of your son's death. It wasn't intentional for us to do this on May the 23rd, so I'd have to say it was providential.
It was.
But for so long, no one heard about this injustice.
Yes, sir.
And so I hear you saying that I'm happy to not be standing alone, but at first you must have felt like you were.
But you have to just realize that this happened on February the 23rd. It was 6-7 weeks before we even got any kind of attention. There was phone calls that went unanswered. I was sending emails out every day that wasn't responded to. So yes, I mean, it was a major quiet. It was quietness. It was no movement in the case at all.
For 6 to 7 weeks.
It was weeks and weeks.
Wow.
Yes.
And by that time, you had buried your son.
Yeah, we buried him actually 6 days after he was killed.
Okay. Yeah, it was about 30 minutes before our event tonight when we looked at the date and said, oh my God, this is the 3-month anniversary. So you didn't have to come here today, but you decided to. You learned that young people,
Yes.
Ahmaud's peer group,
Yes.
that millennials, teenagers,
Yes.
and folks in their 20-somethings were running with Maud. What would you say to that generation that's still alive, even though your son has transitioned?
They are the voice. They're going to be the voice for my grandkids, my great-grandkids. And they must speak, and speak loudly.
After living through Trayvon Martin, after living through Michael Brown, did you and Ahmaud ever have conversations about the fact that, hey son, it could happen to you because of the color of your skin? Ahmaud's older brother, his sister, we've had the talk. And basically the talk was implemented because he's African American. And then again, we live in South Georgia, so we knew that prejudice and racism is here. So when they began to drive and put themselves in positions where I couldn't protect them, yes, I gave them the talk. And so what was it like when you first got that call?
I can't describe it. It was something that I had never felt before. I can't describe it because I think back on, and it's indescribable.
Did you have any indication that Ahmaud was in the right or the wrong when you got that call? When you found out, well, what did they tell you as to how he?
They told me that he was involved in a burglary. At the time of the burglary, he was confronted with the homeowner. There was a confrontation with the homeowner. At the time, there was a fight over the firearm, and unfortunately, Ahmaud was shot and killed.
And we've since learned that that's actually not the right narrative.
That's not true at all.
You knew your son better than to be out looting in someone's home. What has the demand for justice been like for you after 6 or 7 weeks of unanswered phone calls? Now there's a whole world watching your son's case.
The demand is strong. It's not a demand, it's an order. We must get justice.
Yeah. I was talking to attorney Ben Crump, who ironically had connected with all before this unfolded. And so he and I were speaking just yesterday about your son's case. There was an arrest made on yesterday as well. Are you pleased with how things are being handled now?
Pleased, but I can say pleased, but it took too long. We waited for weeks and months, and I'm pleased at this point, but think about the weeks when we were waiting.
Yeah. A lot of us have wondered, like, what has life been like in that interim? Have you been able to work?
I'm not working. My life will never be the same again. I'm going to continue to push, but I took a major loss. I lost him. It's not, when this is all over, when the cameras are gone, the people are gone, my baby is gone forever also.
Yes. Well, as you very well know, there are many people that are working to keep your son's name, what happened to him, the call for his murderers to be rightly tried for that death. They're keeping your son's name. We all are keeping your son's name in the forefront. So we're hoping, and we can assure you, that his legacy will live on. You have a heart for young people.
I do.
This is justice for the next generation.
Exactly.
You didn't have to come and speak to us. You've given dozens and dozens of interviews, and every major network across the world has called to hear from your voice. What made you want to sit on our town hall talk tonight?
When I met you in the park this morning, you introduced yourself, you told me why you were here and what the town hall meeting was about. If these young people is going to take the time out of their busy schedules to come in and have these kind of discussions, why couldn't I be a part of that?
Well, on the behalf of youth and millennials and folks from Ahmaud's peer group all over the world, we thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it is certainly our privilege, and we will continue to fight for justice for the next generation. Please stay tuned for more as we bring our town hall talk to the close. I have coming up the president of the NAACP here in the state of Georgia, a 26-year-old drum major for justice. Mr. James Woodall is coming just after this.
This town hall is being brought to you today by the Citadel Church and Campus Ministries, situated in Greensboro, North Carolina. The Citadel is known for its energetic worship, dedicated community work, and other fine programs and events, just like the one you are witnessing today. Join Pastor Drumwright online each and every week for Word on Wednesday at 7 p.m. and worship on Sundays at 3 p.m., both live on his YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe at Greg Drumwright. And thank you for watching.
This is Live at 5.
Welcome back to the final segment on this town hall talk, Justice for the Next Generation, coming to you live from within the city of Brunswick. And just before I get to our last guests, I wanted to uplift the work of this young brother, Mr. Ronnie Hull.
Yes, sir.
Ronnie, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, how old you are, and what we have here?
Okay, my name is Ronnie. I'm from Athens, Georgia. I am a graphic artist, master artist. I specialize in realism, so graphite, color pencils, murals, logos, anything art. I'm 23. I turned 24 in September.
Wow. 23-year-old black business owner and artist.
Yes, sir.
You have done a wonderful job on this memoriam of Ahmaud. Can you tell us what your social media handle is, how folk can get in touch with you to support this young black artist?
Yes, on Instagram, my Instagram is at Ronnie, RONNIE_B_ART.
Don't hit him up with any kind of foolishness. Thank you, brother. Thank you for joining us on this town hall talk.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes, yes. I am joined at this time with some very esteemed guests who are going to help us to bring this conversation and this call for justice all the way home. I want to welcome Mr. Reverend James Woodall, James Major Woodall, to the set. As I said before, he is the state president of the NAACP Georgia chapter. Also, we have his guests, Miss Hilda Martin-Suggs and Miss Kiara Jackson. Welcome to both of you all as well.
Thank you for having me.
So, we've heard so many details around his case. Ahmaud, we've sat with the narratives that are filtering through media cycles right now. You are a young man that has dedicated your life's work to calling for justice in America. I have a question for you that's kind of going to push the envelope, so I hope you're ready. I just want to know, Do you find that black men are often being criminalized in national conversations, news media, and in the minds of societal discussions?
So not only do I believe and I know that black men are being criminalized by not only the media but the very laws of the land, but also our black women. We have here in this state laws that have been going on since Reconstruction that literally define blackness as crimes of moral turpitude. We have laws on the books that literally says that a white person, if they see a black body, not even a black person, but a black body, that literally by the calling of the word Negro or black or any other language, that they literally become enslaved. And in this case, we saw the very effect of white supremacy, statutory racism in this town. And until we talk about the very legitimacy of the code of law, I don't think we can have a conversation about media, because the media can come and go. But that code has stayed the same. It was in 1866 when those laws were passed.
I'm squirming in my seat. I'm trying to hold back my visceral reactions.
1860s.
Those are laws that have been disbanded. They're not on the books anymore.
They're on the books.
These laws.
We are still fighting till this day to not only get rid of the moral turpitude clause in Georgia's Constitution, which was passed in 1968. We're trying to repeal citizen's arrest, which was a law that literally said that I could enslave a black person if I saw them, because remember, these were slaves, and then they became free upon the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. And then you have use of force, which is a later law, but you have laws on the books.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So what is taking so long? I mean, why are these laws still existing? I know you can answer for...
Oh, I can answer. It's called white supremacy.
Well, okay.
It's called white supremacy. And there are people...
Right to it.
Let's do it. And you have people who are invested, both black and white. So when I say white supremacy, I'm not talking skin color. I'm talking about cultural norms, systems that continue to kill our people. And there are people who are invested in ensuring that it is maintained.
Wow. I know you have done work with the Georgia legislature. Are there not enough lawmakers calling for the repeal of these laws?
Well, I'll say this. I think the world of many of our legislators, but I'm going to say this in bold courage, that we are too emotional to actually do the job that we are called to do in this moment. That we, instead of us doing what God declares that we should do in this moment, which is to do justice, to love mercy, to walk humbly, we'd rather pass, bills that really don't save lives. And we want to use the emotion of these moments to be able to put our names in the headlines, and that we said we did something. But then every single day, another black man, another black woman is lynched.
We have some black sisters here, and this brother here. I asked Samuel Wilson III to join us, who is from this area. Sam is a part of our crew, but he has worked very hard to help us to make connections to Brunswick, Georgia, and people here. Young black folks right here with us. Do you all feel in any danger, or do you feel that there's any threat to your peace and your right to pursue life and liberty?
Some type of way. Being a mother of 3 black sons, I have a 19-year-old, I have a 16-year-old, and I have an 11-year-old. Where they afraid to go outside. They recently just told me they want to move back to Milwaukee because we're not used to this. So, I mean, I'm not afraid. I don't fear nobody but God. But I'm trying to teach my sons not to be afraid. So to hear your child say this, you like,
oh my God, but I have a mission, so I can't just pick up and just leave, because a lot of people in this state depending on me as well.
As a young black woman, as a young, bold black woman, I wouldn't say that I live in fear. I would say that I carry myself with a sort of heightened awareness. I am aware of the powers that be, that if I am in some sort of altercation, whether it be with police or anybody that may not be a minority, there is a possibility that I can lose my life or risk being incarcerated, whether it be by a misdemeanor or something larger than that. But what I try to do is just remind myself of what the things that I do have control over, like where I choose to patron or where I choose to exercise. And unfortunately, even now, that's not even a safe option. Wow. But just living with a certain of heightened awareness of my surroundings and who I come in contact with.
Mm-hmm. Sam, so being from here, were you shocked that this could happen here?
I wouldn't say shocked. It's unfortunate that it did happen as close as it did, but growing up here, my parents instilled certain things, as these young people have said already. They instilled certain things that we should or that we shouldn't do that could possibly get us looked at or profiled or whatever the case may be. And being in those situations by the police or just whoever might be patrolling the neighborhood, I think that because I have been in that situation, it wasn't so much of a surprise. And I do think that it is a whole lot more common than what the news is portraying.
Yeah.
So.
Well, how is young black America processing this? We were demonstrating today. I met you at the march and the Speak Out. There are so many of young black America, millennial black America, that is saying that's played out. That's not the way to go with this. We need to pick up our guns and start shooting back. Before we wrap this conversation, we need to discuss what our sisters and brothers are saying and bring the conversation forward.
So I'll say this, and it's a twofold response. One, we saw a video last week of several men and women, many were African American, if not every last one of them, who did just that. And they ended up on the ground, visibly bruised, beaten with billy clubs that look as dark as I.
What video are you referencing?
I mean, there were several. And so when we talk about our response and we say, well, time is enough, we're done, that we must organize and become militant. And what we mean by that, because though I think it is time for us to become militant, but militant does not mean just simply violent. What militant means is become disciplined and organized, and we don't have that. And so in second part, I believe that we are done dying. That we are done compromising with white supremacy. From Joe Biden to Donald Trump to Brian Kemp and everybody in between. We are done dying. There is no compromise with white supremacy because it always ends in black death.
But you just called out the Democratic nominee.
I surely did.
Who was the VP to America's first black president.
We do not compromise with white supremacy.
You called out the governor of the state of Georgia. You called out our current president in a conversation about white supremacy.
Yep.
But a lot of people, both white and black, don't see that at play. How can we help them to understand what white supremacy looks like from our lens?
We show them the black blood that's literally draining in our streets. That's all you need to see. And until we stop that, until the people who come into our communities asking for our support can stop that, they won't get it. At some point, we have to be bold enough to say enough is enough. To your question of what do young people say? They are saying we are done dying.
What does that look like, your kids? And I need to give you an international apology for calling you a young person.
I just look young.
But see, I was trying to figure out a way to give you that compliment, but everybody can see. Y'all, does she look like she has a 16-year-old?
I have a 19-year-old.
A 19,
and
they say.
a 16-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They say.
Thank
you. How'd your kids? How'd your mama?
Everybody.
Okay. Whoever.
They try, but they can't.
Wow. Wow. So you're popping out today.
Thank you. Well, this is what my perspective. If no justice for Ahmaud, what message is this sending? Not to just the state, but the United States. Because if you take this case particularly and you think about it, if that's the case, you would have to free everybody who murdered somebody in self-defense if they really murdered him in self-defense. That means all of the youth who's facing as before 40 should be released. People from 20-some, 30-some years ago. Cases will have to be reviewed. He have to be convicted.
Wow.
He have to be. Both.
Sam and Kiara, what are your peers saying?
I know a lot of my peers have been moved to action. They have turned that emotion, that anger into action. They are joining more organizations like NAACP, Culture Strike, things of that nature to try to be involved, to make that first step, even if they don't know where to go, what to do, what the courses of action are. Being involved in other entities that do or might have a plan of action and kind of, following under their leadership because they know that they cannot remain idle in these situations. That has been the response that I've been seeing from my peers. Action.
Yes, at first I would say my peers were in shock because a lot of them it's not something that they're used to experiencing. This not something that they're used to coming across. But I think after that shock wears off, like she said, it is a call to move. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know who I need to become or come into contact with. But I need to find a way to make my voice heard so that somebody and something can be done and justice can be served.
What is the NAACP doing to garner the participation and the interest of the Black America, especially Black youth, be it male or female? We noticed that there's been a sense of apathy to want to do public work like this. We noticed that there are a lot of people that hide behind Twitter feeds and Facebook walls and IG posts, but they actually diminish the works of those of us who are preaching and calling for justice in the public square. How are you all changing that, and how are you reaching the younger generation?
So we do a few things. One, we tell the truth and stand in it. Meaning, we've dropped the ball as an organization over the past several years, where the people have called and asked for help and for us to stand with them, and we just simply didn't show up. I think that is first and foremost the utmost necessity for us to really do exactly what you said. But the second thing is we have to know our enemies. And when we identify our enemies, we put together coalitions and strategies on how we defeat them. And so being able to evaluate our progress from one period to the next. And then 3, that we understand how we engage that enemy in that battle. And so for us in the Georgia NAACP, we have 3 strategic priorities. One, well, before we talk about the priorities, we have to make it relative to them. We have to really understand where they are. If we simply come in with the golden nugget, if you will, and we tell them that this is what's best for them, then we lose. But if we go into the community, we actually build relationship and be able to understand where they are, I think we can make it out. And from that work, we've seen 3 things. One is environmental racism. That it's not just climate crisis and the weathering patterns, but what about the water that people are drinking? What about the air that they're breathing, right? What about food deserts and literally having more Dollar Generals than they have food markets?
Wow.
You talk about legislation and public policy and electoral politics. Why are Black people not voting?
So Why are black folks not voting?
They don't know how important it is. They think it's just one election, which is president. No.
Distrust in the electorate.
Yeah.
So please explain to all who are watching this what else is on that ballot coming up this November 2020 that they could consider voting for?
Commissioners, district attorneys, sheriffs. The sheriffs decide over the county jails throughout the state. I mean, that's very important. Definitely. That's where you start at before you go down the road.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of younger generations don't even know that the judges,
state judges,
are
sorry, I
elected
forgot
officials.
about them. Yes, definitely. Senators,
school board members,
mayors, all of that.
Yes.
Like, it's phenomenal.
So there is more than just the presidential election at your fingertips this November. We need you to understand how important it is for you to research and find out what other candidates and what other races are being ran in your district. But
the census.
Okay.
We also have to remember the census, because if you miss that part, then the other part doesn't work. And it becomes corrupt, and you have the apathy and the things that they mentioned. So I think we have to keep keying on that. And then the General Assembly, the state legislators, the Congress and the senators. We got everybody on the ballot.
So you don't vote for the census, you take the census.
Take the census. That's right.
And what the census does is it collects population data. So that when your state considers how many representatives for your district, for your city, for your town should be at your capital or even at the federal level, that information comes from the census data. So if you think that there is not proper representation in your town, you can affect change by simply participating in this census. How often does the census come around?
So the census is every 10 years. And not just, and see, this is the thing, a lot of people think it's just about the politicians and those kind of things, but sometimes we get calls about roads not being paved, and they are literally using census data. So if you want roads paved, you're going to do the census, take the census. It takes 5 minutes to just fill it out, let them know that you're living at this address, this how many people are here. If you want lower utility rates, it's a possibility if you take the census. I can't promise it, but it's a better chance if you take it than not.
So I want to bring this conversation back into play about presidential politics. Because you mentioned both Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who are the presumptive nominees of their parties. It is very likely that we will see them on our ballots this November. But in your opinion, they're both white supremacists. What do I say to the young sisters and brothers that are watching this conversation, lighten up the chat right now, as to how they can exercise their civil rights to vote if they got to vote for, in your opinion, a white supremacist either way?
So I want to clarify something. I don't believe either one way or the other whether or not Trump or Biden are white supremacists. What I am suggesting, however, is that they are allowing us to compromise with white supremacy, which are two different things.
Okay.
I think white supremacy is a system. And so as we talk about...
Can you say that again?
Yeah, white supremacy is a system. It's not a personality.
Can you say that just one more time?
White supremacy is a system. It's not a personality.
So you're not a racist?
I don't care if somebody's a racist, because at the end of the day, the racism isn't killing me. It's the system that allows them to be emboldened to do what they do.
Whoa.
Which is a whole different conversation. Because we can talk about a person calling me the N-word all day long. But just like we saw in Citadel Shores, there was laws on the books that literally emboldened white racists to kill a black man. So they literally were on the streets for 2 months.
But you know, we hear, have y'all heard this? But you all have a black president. You had a black president. You have now with the change of people recusing themselves here in Glenn County from this case, and it's shifted to the DA in Atlanta. There are people who are saying, but you all have judges and you all have businesses and you all have degrees now that everything is equitable and it's fair play. But here you are talking about a system of white supremacy. And let me just be clear. I agree with him. I agree with him. I believe that in 2020, white privilege is still doing its finest work in America. So what should the next generation, before you keep preaching, what should the next generation do about this system that we are discussing? How can they posit themselves in the fray of calls for justice and demands?
Groundwork, obtain any knowledge they can obtain. I'm telling you, it will work.
Learn everything that they can about the system and work to dismantle it. Challenge it at every step. But also work to, dismantle it legislatively more than anything.
Okay.
Go outside of the typical jobs that we're taught to get. So instead of being a ball player, or instead of, owning whatever the case may be, if I know that I'm directly affected by a law or some legislature, then why not put my career in that pathway? And so that way I can have a direct hand in what's being changed or what my people are being affected by.
So the message from these panelists is unending education, unending education and vision for your lives, for yourselves, for your future. I think it's really important to uplift the fact that you are 26 years old. 26 years old and the state president of the Georgia NAACP. What would you say to some 19-year-old, some 21-year-old watching this conversation about how you got to where you are and how they can see themselves doing the same, if not more?
Most definitely. So, all I would tell them is to trust your spirit, to literally allow yourself enough space and grace to trust your spirit and to walk in faith. Because I can't take credit for anything I've done. I genuinely, I can't. It's literally me trusting the Spirit of God.
Wow.
And then second, don't be afraid to renegotiate the very compromises that generations before made. That yes, I walk in the legacy of the W.W. Laws and the W.E.B. Du Bois and the likes and Ella Baker and those, but there were certain negotiations and deals that were made and compromised that we just can't compromise today. It's not to demonize nor criticize what they did, but it doesn't work for us now. And so in their spirit, in the spirit of the living God, but also in the spirit of our living ancestors, to literally define what life can be for us. That's literally all I can do.
Well, Reverend, I want to underscore everything you just said, especially being led by the Spirit. That there are so many of our youth, young adults, and let's face it, people from all generations that no longer believe in the guiding spirit that we have in our faith. Young people are apathetic about faith. I'm uplifting it because we are a faith organization. We're a faith-based organization that's bringing this conversation to you. We are believers. We are spirit-filled. However, we are educated. We don't just praise and protest. We write papers. We are teachers. We have young lawyers in the making. I have educators and engineers on this crew. I got master students. I got rising PhD students all in this room with me right now. And let me just say that we are all students and alums from the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. Can I get y'all to say Aggie Pride?
I'm not saying that.
You're not going to say, bro.
Aggie Pride! Aggie Pride!
I love it.
You know, we're just having fun. I'm glad to be around some successful, young,
Thank you.
Black people. And my final word, after being here in Brunswick, Georgia this past week, I can tell you that I feel like my work has only begun. We were led here to Brunswick after imagining that this conversation would take place in our zip code, because the more and more we sat with Ahmaud Arbery's death, we felt like it could happen in our town and your town. The people here in Brunswick are beautiful people. There is a lot going on around this city right now to bring attention to Ahmaud Arbery's lynching. And I would have you to know that if you research the meaning of that word, lynching, that it is every bit, its definition is in play with what happened. So many young people have asked me, why are they calling it a lynching when he wasn't hanging from a tree? We need to understand that, as Reverend Woodall has suggested here, that these age-old tactics to rid our community of young, successful, promising, and purpose-filled young African Americans are still at play. They're still at play in our political system. They're still at play. The systems, in our systems of education, in our systems of welfare, these are still at play. Justice for the next generation, I don't know what it looks like, but I do know that I am going to work like hell to see it happen. I'm convinced that it looks like you and me for right now. It looks like the person on the other side of this lens. It looks like these beautiful people that are gathered with us today. Ahmaud Arbery prophetically spoke that he would be a household name. It's unfortunate that it had to happen like this. But Brother Ahmaud, we're going to keep your name alive and your legacy long and strong in our pursuit of justice for the next generation. It has been my pleasure to have brought you this conversation. I want to thank the city officials of the Brunswick community here in Georgia. I want to thank Mr. John Martin and Martin Funeral Home for the many connections that he helped us to make. I'd have to thank the public servants and the community here, as well as Mr. Arbery's family, his father, Marcus, his mother, Wanda, and all of those who are coalescing around that family to see that justice is served. I don't know when we'll see you again on this wise. However, stay woke. Keep the fight, the good fight of faith. It's been my pleasure to have brought you this special report. God bless you all. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you.
I run with Maud. People all across the country are running, jogging, or walking 2.23 miles in his honor.
So we are here in Brunswick, Georgia, walking with the community and the family. They are just ahead of me here. This is another demonstration, another event where the community is coalescing around Ahmaud's case, calling for justice in Brunswick, Georgia. This particular event was organized by the Greek life community, but as you can see, there are so many other people that are here to ensure that attention is being drawn to this case. It has sent shockwaves throughout the world, and so you can definitely discern that this community is not going to stop until justice has been served. There are clergy members, public officials out here. There are local professionals, and then there's just concerned mothers. There's just concerned citizens, concerned brothers. I'm excited to be here. It's unfortunate as to what brought us here, but this is in advance of our town hall event. And I just wanted to share with you what is happening here on the ground in Brunswick, Georgia, seeking justice for Ahmaud Arbery, all justice for the next generation.